All right, guys, it's time. No more BS. I'm not going to gaslight anyone. I'm not going to tell you it's going to be okay and you can build into it. You can't. It sucks. And the real reason for Airborne effectiveness being put in the game, straight up, based on everything Bungie said, they literally said, Airborne gameplay is oppressive for grounded players. These are Bungie's words. Now, they said that, and after playing Trials all weekend, this is what I've learned. Now, if you're aggressive and you play on the front foot, and let's say you get a guy one shot and then you push to finish him with the shotgun, if your feet leave the ground, there is a very, very big chance that your shotgun pellets are just going to go to the left. Or in my case, even do 0 damage. I mean, look at this stuff. This is insane, this change. They've just targeted aggressive players very, very, very aggressively themselves with this change. It's just crazy. If your feet leave the ground, your bullets are going to have RNG. Now, obviously, we know you can build into it with primary weapons a little bit, but at the end of the day, if you're a controller player and you lose all reticle friction the second your feet leave the ground while someone's sliding on their ass at you with a fusion rifle, who's being oppressed? In fact, I mean, using the word oppressive in a PvP game is obviously weird as well, but I get it. But who's on the receiving end here? If someone's running at me with a shotgun with their feet on the ground and I'm jumping backwards to avoid them, why are my guns now shooting pillows at people? How in any world does that system make any sense whatsoever? Just someone explain that to me. Someone spamming Fighting Lion at you. Infinite grenade launcher, by the way. It has infinite ammo. They're spamming that at you. One of the ways you have, or one of the only things you have to use against someone spamming a grenade launcher is to move away from it. Perhaps you might jump. If you do jump, now your guns feel terrible. You can build into it, but it's still going to feel terrible, especially if you're on controller. There's no building in the world that's going to make your weapon feel good without the reticle friction that controller needs in order to function in this game. Now, obviously, a lot of streamers are all on mouse and keyboard, and so everyone's only thinking about it from that point of view. Yeah, there's no aim assist, but on mouse, if you don't need reticle friction, you can just hit your shots. You're still going to be okay, especially after building into it. If you're a controller player, it's almost like they're saying, hey man, take this fusion rifle and go and bot walk around. Hard scope in the back with this high aim assist sniper rifle. Hold down the trigger with last word and just auto aim people and kill them. What about people on controller who want to jump around and make use of the fun movement in this game? What about them? Even if you build into it, you've got no reticle friction. There's no building that back into the game. And we're not even talking about the fact that special weapons have baked in RNG on their bullets. They have said that special weapons will have inaccuracy up until 100 aerial effectiveness. Now, you can't even see this stat in the game right now, by the way, but it's impossible to get that much aerial effectiveness on a shotgun or any special weapon. If it was even possible, it would require some obscure random ass setup where you need a specific exotic, specific mod, specific aspects, specific fragments. This is absolutely ridiculous. Listen, build crafting is good, but build crafting into making your guns shoot straight is just the worst idea I've ever heard. Okay, it's not the worst idea I've heard, but genuinely, this is the worst system change that Destiny has seen since the double primary debacle of 2017, and we all know what happened there. Whatever happened there, you know what I'm saying? Some bad stuff right there, and we could be heading down a similar path here, because what they're going to be doing, it's just like another slap in the face for the dedicated PvP players of this game. Because if you're dedicated to the game, you're going to be utilizing a jump. So when someone runs at you in a straight line with a special weapon, you're going to jump backwards, and now your gun isn't going to shoot straight. You know, you're a dedicated player, and it's a slap after slap. 900 days without a map. And then what do? They bring back Vostok, Equinox, and Disjunction is a massive map. You know, dedicated players of the game, we want mid-sized maps that work on in every mode. We had to wait so long, and they bring back Rift, and it's buggy as hell. It's basically a mess. If we're being honest, it's a mess on launch. And on top of that, now we have this system in the game, and it's seemingly put into the game to placate players who, you know, are not as good at the game. And I don't know what the thinking is behind it, because this isn't going to change anything. Players who are bad at the game are still going to lose to players who are good at the game. The reason why there's such a big disparity in skill levels between players is because there has been no content put into the game on the PvP side since it went free to play. There's been virtually nothing. And this is not an exaggeration or hyperbole. This is just a fact. There has been nothing. And so the casual player without new content and without incentives to play the game, and without any in-game sort of direction from the game itself, go play PvP for XYZ, there's no reason for the player base to grow. And that's why the game doesn't take off in terms of numbers when it comes to PvP. Now, if you're a dev and, you know, the higher ups of Bungie have said, right, all the money is going to PvE because that's where we make our money, you know, I understand that's a difficult position to be in order to try and make the game more open up to people who haven't been playing PvP religiously for 7 years. I'm totally aware of how difficult a situation it is when a new player comes into this game and they have terrible loot and they're playing against a guy who's geared out of his mind, min-max to the gills, been playing this game for 6 years. You don't stand a chance. I get it. It's a tough situation and it's a tough problem to solve, but this is just not it. It just is not it. If you want to nerf hand cannons and shotguns and people jumping, just nerf the guns themselves. Don't bake some system into the game that just makes stuff feel like ass. And for controller players especially, there is nothing you can do to build into having good aerial gameplay. Even if you could have perfect accuracy or whatever, without reticle friction with the movement in this game, you're just not going to hit anyone. It's going to be very difficult for most players. So they're kind of just encouraging everyone to take that grounded route. And if you just want to change the meta that badly, just make some huge nerfs on the weapons themselves and be done with it. Or the exotics themselves, like Stompies. This system is awful. I'll give you an example. You're on Burnout. Burnout's a trials map, right? This game registers you in the air at times when you won't even realize it. So you could step over a rock and this game will think that you're in the air. You could slide over a staircase and the game will think you're in the air. There's so many situations where the game registers you in the air, and obviously that makes your guns just feel awful out of nowhere. 1 second your gun feels like butter, the next you step on a rock and it feels like you're shooting pillows at people. I just don't understand how this has been allowed to pass into the game. And I know basically every content creator said their piece on it, but you guys want to hear it from me. I just think this is a very roundabout way to nerf aggressive players with shotguns and hand cannons. And you know, I know if you're on the other side of it and you're like, I'm so glad they've done this, trust me, you're gonna regret that feeling, because there's gonna be no aspiration for you as a player. Once you improve and you start jumping around and your stuff starts whiffing, you're going to be like, this sucks. Why did I even bother improving at this game? So I'm telling you, this system is terrible. And I know there's the sunk cost fallacy and all that. They've put a lot of time into this, but just turn the dial up to make it feel as good as possible, because this is really bad. And they need to think about controller reticle friction whilst you're in the air as well. It's just, it just seems like an oversight, or they want controller players to keep their boots on the ground. I'm really not sure what it is. I'd love for them to expand more on what the philosophy is behind this change, beyond aerial gameplay is oppressive for some players, when grounded players can use Last Word, fusion rifles, Lawrence Driver, grenade launchers, you name it. Some of the most oppressive things in the game require your boots to be on the ground. So yeah, it's an odd one. I don't know, is there someone at Bungie who just loves using fusions and bows and is like, you know what, I've had enough of these edgelords with hand cannons and shotguns? Is that what this is? Who knows? It's a crazy one. Anyway, guys, they were my raw thoughts, unfiltered. Tried to be as honest as possible. Hope you guys enjoyed it. Leave a like if you did, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Peace out.